If you have thoughts that won't leave you alone, they keep you stuck in your head for hours a day, and those thoughts push you into behaviors you know don't make sense, but somehow they still feel right, like they're the only way to move forward. Well, you're not broken, and you're definitely not alone. I'm also here to warn you, like I wish someone had warned me, because those loops, they have a f***ing cruel twist. Unlike any other condition in the world, they come with such a hit of relief when we just get it right that we get addicted to that supply, a supply we created ourselves with a 24/7 access, a loop with its own built-in fear and built-in relief. It's no wonder people on average spend a whole decade before getting help. A decade reinforcing that same habit, that same loop. It's why it feels impossible to break the cycle when you finally reach that point. Just like the person who hasn't felt safe enough to leave their own house for years. They didn't start there. It began with just a little rechecking, redoing, rethinking. I have some good news for you though. I believe you have something very special. For me, I now see my loops as a gift I've learned to leverage, and I'd love to show you how to do the same. Now I get it. If someone had told me 10 years ago when I was in the thick of it, stuck doing the simplest tasks for 10 minutes straight, like walking in and out of a doorway, because the threat of not getting it right felt like life or death, or like I was putting someone I loved at risk, only to end up falling to the ground, giving up, screaming and crying, being stuck in my own body and mind, I would have told them to kindly get lost. But please hear me out, because this could change the course of the rest of your life. I'm here to tell you two things. One, there is a different and better way, and it starts with the body. And two, you don't have something to fix. Not in my opinion. You have something to lead, to direct, toward the life you actually want. See, this is why I see these particular patterns and condition as a gift. Your mind, just like mine, is wired differently. For some reason, our brain's neural connectivity is unique, with measurable differences in the prefrontal cortex, especially the orbitofrontal cortex. That's a part of the brain that's involved with decision-making, error detection, and threat assessment. It is also an area that's involved with incredible focus, problem-solving, and creative ideation. Now, MRIs and studies have shown this time and time again for people like you and I. And that can be the most powerful asset you've ever had, or the most torturous experience you'll ever have to live with. See, when I see those scans, I think, no wonder I can create hyper-real, almost virtual reality level mental simulations of the worst case what-if scenario. Not to mention, put all my focus and problem solving to that one thought. But here's what I've come to learn through my recovery. That same overactivity also represents enormous energy and potential that we can actually steer into anything that moves us forward in life. I don't know about you, but I've never understood whenever I ask someone, what are you thinking about? And they return and say nothing. I think, wow, how quiet that must be, right? But also, how the fuck is that even possible? You and I, we didn't ask for this, but here we are. Kind of like being strapped to a rocket mid-flight doing 1,000 miles an hour. It's a double-edged sword though. On one side, when it's not harnessed, we feel like prisoners of our own body and mind. But on the other side, if you can learn to harness that obsessive, enormous force for good, you can turn it into forward momentum like nothing else. Momentum that more than 90% of the population doesn't and will never have access to. You can learn to steer that rocket. In this video course, you'll find 12 phases covering the Harmony framework, something I've built and relied on over the past 11 years. Originally, it was just built for me to survive each and every day with those endless loops that felt like torture. being trapped in my own body and mind. The core of the framework even influenced the way I coached clients in my gym owner days, a business that I built at 21 years old and sold after 6 years. It even shaped how I worked with men in my online coaching business, helping them improve their bedroom health and performance so effectively that I grew that company to 7 figures. Now I'm giving this framework with even more detail, specifically for spiraling and looping minds, feeling hostage in their own bodies, to the people that it will benefit the most. The reason it was built in the first place. You might be wondering how the core of the framework could work for fitness, men's health, and now these torturous spirals. It's because at its core, they all have one thing in common. Something I would not have understood firsthand if I had gone down traditional paths working with the mind only, and maybe even becoming a talk professional with a fancy psych degree. That common thread is the nervous system. See, I've got a unique background, not just because my loops have dragged me through hell and back, but because I also have professional experience outside of working solely with the mind. It's why I take a body-first approach, something that almost everyone in this space is neglecting. And that's the fundamental difference that made my recovery possible when nothing else really seemed to stick. I've seen so many talk professionals, I've read the books, I've done the mindset strategies, meditation, meds, and even some of the hardest hitting plants nature has to offer. Now, working at the level of the mind definitely helped, but I eventually realized it's not even where the problem starts. Now, I know that sounds backwards. After all, the main issue feels like those thoughts that won't leave you alone, right? Resulting in an emotional overload that makes you feel like you have to do something now or else. But changing patterns of the mind, I'll admit, is the thing that will ultimately result in full recovery. This is practically off limits if you're in a heightened state. And that state is dictated by the body. Your body's number one priority is to keep you alive and to keep you safe. Any threat, big or small, can have you in a lockdown mode, running old patterns by default, because as far as the body's concerned, what you've done in the past hasn't gotten you killed. So, it works. And here's the thing, a heightened state doesn't have to look like a crisis or breaking point. You could feel fine right now, but your body could be quietly taking the hit and buffering the perception of the stress that you feel. It can be as subtle as 30 minutes less sleep, a missed meal, an extra coffee, a shallow argument that shifts your breath into short and fast, all before midday. And now your body's already reinforcing old habits on autopilot. From there, it is almost impossible to create new patterns that could even have the opportunity to serve you. Let me ask you this to prove the point. After a rough night of sleep, does your mind spiral more the next day? When you skip meals, overeat processed crap, binge coffee, or stop training, does your mind feel foggier, more reactive, more on edge? For me, almost always, the answer is yes. And that's not random. It's how our biology is wired. Now, imagine going to see a talk professional from that state, and they have you digging into memories from when you were 6. I mean, okay, it might help, but honestly, it's probably the worst time to be doing it. This is one of the only conditions that can have such a diminishing return the deeper you go into why this and why that. And look, I'm not saying it's not important. It absolutely is. But the problem is the coping mechanism you built when emotions became overwhelming. That mechanism helped you survive once upon a time so you could get on with your life again. For example, one of the many traumas that I've filtered through with a fine-tooth comb. My mum passed away in a motorcycle accident when I was 12. She was only 39. I didn't realize when I said goodbye that day, it would be the last time I'd ever see her. As you can imagine, that kind of loss is devastating to a 12-year-old. So of course, I built mental mechanisms to survive that earth-shattering pain. I've since realized you can only do so much talking, so much subconscious stone flipping before you have to move forward. But that's almost impossible if your body has your mind in lockdown. See, my loops had me thinking that the accident was my fault, and that I could even prevent something like it in the future by retracing, redoing, rethinking to get something just right or perfect. It was a pattern that once upon a time served me, but eventually kept me stuck. I could try use logic until I was blue in the face, but the only way to convince my mind things were actually safe was to communicate safety to my body first. Think about it. If someone jump scares you, your body reacts before your mind even processes what's happened. That's because survival always comes first. That's where we start, the body. Now, I'm so confident this approach works that if you go through this course, you follow the steps through the phases, and don't feel a difference within 90 days, I'll not just give your money back, I'll give it back twice. That's me putting my skin in the game and into your recovery, because I have that much confidence in this course and in you. Depending on when you're watching this, the number of members going through the course will vary. To give each and every member the attention that they deserve, the price will increase every 10 people who join. Why? Because the power of this course isn't just the content, but in the support and accountability you get while going through it. This isn't just a program where you pay and you never see me again. I will be there every step of the way and whenever you need. That's why I can make such a bold guarantee, because I know I can get you to where you want to be. Less spiraling, more time, more energy, more focus, more of your life. And let me give you one final quick warning. Once you start improving, you might feel the same gut-wrenching realization that I did. Finally seeing and feeling just how much those spirals were taking from you. I'm looking forward to helping you build real momentum. Let's do this. I'll see you on the inside.